You think you know how cruise cabins work. You've cruised 10 times. You know to check for damage, test the AC, meet your steward. But there are systems running in the background. Actual computer systems that are tracking your cabin activity, monitoring sensor data in real time, and flagging your requests in ways you'd never guess. And every one of them is designed to generate revenue. And I know what you're thinking. You're careful. You photograph damage. You check your bill every day, and you absolutely should. But what I'm about to show you isn't about being careful. It's about knowing which systems are actually running, who's watching the data, and what specific language bypasses the normal process entirely. Most passengers think cabin management is about housekeeping and comfort. It's not. It's a monitored system designed to optimize ancillary revenue. They're tracking what you touch, what you move, what you request, and what you complain about. These aren't minor inconveniences. These systems cost seniors hundreds of dollars per cruise in bogus charges, denied requests, and service downgrades. And the entire setup depends on you not knowing these systems exist. I spent 14 years working guest services on cruise ships. I watched these systems evolve from simple housekeeping logs to sophisticated tracking algorithms. I processed the disputes. I saw the data. And now that I'm no longer employed by any cruise line, I can tell you exactly how they work. I'll never forget the first time I had to explain to a 70-year-old woman why she was being charged $180 for carpet damage she didn't cause. The stain was already in the system database before she even boarded. She had no photo evidence. And according to the protocol I was required to follow, that meant she was paying. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what to check in your cabin, what to photograph, what to request in the first 60 minutes, and the specific words that override normal response times. 9 things. Some of them will save you money. Some of them will protect you from theft. And one of them could follow you from cruise to cruise if you don't handle it right. Let's start with the one that gets more seniors hit with damage charges than anything else. Cruise lines maintain a damage database for every cabin. Some cabins are pre-flagged with existing issues before you even board. Scuffs, stains, scratches. But here's the problem. They still charge you for those damages if you can't prove they were already there. You walk into your cabin. It looks clean. You unpack. 3 days later, or on disembarkation day, you get hit with a damage charge. You say that wasn't me. They say, can you prove it? From the guest services side, I saw this constantly. The database has timestamps, but passengers don't get access to it. The system logs damage reports from previous guests, but if you don't photograph the issue within the first hour of boarding, there's no record that you saw it too. The dispute defaults in the cruise line's favor. Damage processing happens after you've left the ship. By the time you see the charge on your credit card, you're home. You can't go back to the cabin. You can't take a photo. Your word means nothing without evidence. I had a couple in their late 60s, interior cabin, charged $220 for a cracked bathroom mirror. They swore it was cracked when they arrived. I pulled up the database. Sure enough, the previous guest had reported it. But because this couple hadn't photographed it themselves, the system auto-charged them. I overrode it manually, but only because they pushed back. Most passengers just pay. Not every line uses the same database system. Mainstream lines I worked on had automated damage tracking. The luxury line toward the end was still doing manual cabin inspections. But the principle is the same. If you can't prove it, you're liable. The second you open your cabin door, pull out your phone. Take a 60-second video walking through the entire space. Say the date and time out loud. Zoom in on carpets, walls, bathroom fixtures, balcony railings. If something's damaged, you have proof it was there before you touched anything. Now, damage charges are one thing, but there's another system in your cabin that's charging you right now, literally as we speak. And most passengers don't even know it's running. Most newer cruise ships have sensor-equipped mini-fridges. Move an item, even if you don't open it, and you're charged automatically. The system doesn't wait for you to confirm. It charges first, asks questions later. You move a $6 bottle of water to make room for your insulin. You put the water back. Doesn't matter. You've been charged. You don't find out until you review your bill on day 3 or day 5. By then, you've moved 4 more items. You're looking at $40 to $60 in charges you never consumed. Minibar disputes were the #1 billing issue I dealt with every single day. And here's the thing passengers don't realize. The refund process is deliberately slow. You have to request the refund in person at guest services or through the app. It's not instant. It requires supervisor approval. And if you wait until the last day of the cruise, you might not get the refund processed before disembarkation. If you get auto-charged, go to guest services and say, I need a supervisor refund for minibar charges. I moved items to store medication and the sensor auto-charged me. I'd like this reversed and the sensor disabled for my cabin. That last part, requesting the sensor be disabled, is key. Some lines will do it, some won't. But asking puts you on record. Before you put anything in that fridge, photograph everything inside it. If you need the space, ask your steward to empty it completely. They can do that. Here's one that could have saved you hundreds of dollars if you'd known to ask in the first 2 hours of embarkation day. There's a window, usually between when early boarding starts and when the majority of passengers arrive, where unsold, upgraded cabins are available for purchase. But cruise lines never announce it. You have to ask, and you have to ask early. You booked an interior cabin to save money. You're fine with it. But as you're walking through the ship on embarkation day, you see a balcony cabin door open, and you think, man, I wish I'd splurged. Here's the thing. That cabin might be available right now for $200 to $400. But by 3 in the afternoon, when you finally think to ask, they'll tell you the ship is sold out. I watch this play out every single embarkation day. We had a list of unsold upgrades. Between noon and 2, we were authorized to offer them at a steep discount. The goal was to fill the ship before sail away, but we didn't advertise it. If you came to the desk and asked, we'd check availability and quote you a price. If you didn't ask, we'd wait until the afternoon and then mark the cabins as inventory held for the next sailing. I upgraded a couple from an interior to an ocean view for $150 total. They asked at 12:30. By 4 o'clock, that same cabin was marked unavailable. The couple in the next interior cabin asked at 5. I had to tell them we were sold out. Same day, 4-hour difference. Between noon and 2 on embarkation day, go to guest services and say, I'd like to inquire about same-day cabin upgrades. I'm currently in cabin number whatever, and I'm interested in moving to a balcony or higher category if availability and pricing work. Don't apologize, be direct. They'll check the list. This doesn't work on sold-out sailings, but on most mainstream lines I worked on, the discounted upgrade window was real, and it was early. Now robes, extra ice, spare pillows, additional hangers. These used to be standard in most cabins. Now they're available upon request. But here's the catch. They're only available if you ask within the first hour or 2 of boarding. After that, they're suddenly depleted. You unpack. You realize there are only 5 hangars for a 7-day cruise. You call housekeeping that evening and ask for more. They say, we're out. We'll try to get some tomorrow. Tomorrow comes. Still nothing. Cruise lines removed these items from standard cabin inventory to cut costs, but they kept a limited supply available upon request so they could say they still offered them. The problem? There aren't enough for every cabin, so it's first come, first served. And most passengers don't think to ask until day 2 or day 3. By then, it's too late. Within the first 30 minutes of entering your cabin, find your cabin steward in the hallway, or call housekeeping and say, I'd like to request extra hangers, a mattress topper if available, and daily ice service for the duration of the cruise. Asking for all 3 at once gets you on the list before supply runs out. I had a woman ask for a mattress topper within 10 minutes of boarding. She got one. Her friend in the cabin next door waited until that night to ask. Sold out. They were on the same booking, same cabin category. 10-hour difference in asking. One slept great, one didn't. And here's the last one before we go deeper. Cabin stewards are tracked on performance metrics. How many cabins cleaned per hour? Guest satisfaction scores. Gratuity collection rates. If you hand your steward cash in the first 24 hours, your cabin gets coded as priority service in their system. If you wait until the end of the cruise, you're standard priority. And yes, that affects response times. You request extra towels at 2 in the afternoon. They show up at 9 at night. Your neighbor requests the same thing. They show up in 20 minutes. You wonder what you did wrong. The answer? They tipped early. You didn't. This isn't official cruise line policy, but I watched it happen for 14 years. Cabin stewards have discretion over which requests they handle first. If you've already established yourself as someone who tips well, your requests move to the top of the list. It's human nature, and the system quietly rewards it. When you meet your cabin steward in the first 30 minutes, shake their hand, introduce yourself, and say, "I really appreciate the work you do. Here's something to start the cruise off right." Hand them a $20 bill. Not at the end, not on day 3, on day 1. Then at the end of the cruise, tip again based on the service you received. This feels transactional, and I get that. You shouldn't have to tip up front to get decent service. But I'm telling you what works. If you want your requests prioritized, early cash tips make it happen. All right, that's the first 5. And if you stopped here, you'd already be ahead of 90% of cruisers. But these next 4? These are the ones that could prevent actual safety issues, protect you from theft, and stop phantom charges from hitting your card after you're already home. Let's keep going. When you report a cabin issue, broken AC, clogged drain, malfunctioning safe, maintenance assigns it a priority code. Broken TV is a P3, 48-hour response. Clogged toilet is a P2, 24 hours. But if you use the words sanitation concern or health and safety issue, it gets coded as a P1. Same-day response, often within hours. Your shower drain is clogged. You call maintenance. They say they'll get to it tomorrow. Meanwhile, you're standing in ankle-deep water every time you shower. Tomorrow comes. Still nothing. By day 3, you give up and just deal with it. I watched passengers wait days for fixes that should have been handled immediately, simply because they didn't know the right words. Maintenance teams are stretched thin. They triage based on priority codes. If you say my shower isn't draining well, it gets logged as a comfort issue, low priority. But if you say I have a sanitation concern, standing water in the shower is creating a health risk, that gets flagged as P1, different code. Different response time. If you have a maintenance issue that's affecting your ability to use the cabin safely, call guest services, not just your cabin steward, and say, "I need to report a sanitation concern in my cabin. This is affecting health and safety, and I need maintenance dispatched today." Don't exaggerate, don't lie. But if it's genuinely unsanitary, standing water, toilet malfunction, mold, broken lock, use those words. I had a guest report a weird smell in her cabin. 3 days, no response. Finally, she came to the desk frustrated, and I asked her to describe it. She said it smelled like sewage. I immediately recoded it as a sanitation concern. Maintenance was there in 90 minutes. Turned out there was a plumbing leak behind the wall. If she'd said sanitation concern on day 1, it would have been fixed on day 1. Don't abuse this. If your TV remote is sticky, that's not a sanitation concern. But if there's mold, leaking water, or a malfunctioning toilet, it absolutely is. Now this next one is about your physical safety, and it's something I saw lead to actual theft reports. If your cabin has a connecting door to the cabin next door, locking it from your side does not prevent the other side from unlocking it with a master key. Stewards, supervisors, and security all have master keys that override your lock. And if the people in the connecting cabin request access, or if a crew member makes a mistake, that door can open from the other side. You lock the connecting door. You assume you're secure. You leave your cabin to go to dinner. You come back and something's missing. Or worse, the connecting door is slightly ajar and you have no idea why. I personally processed 3 theft reports over the years that involved connecting doors. In 2 cases, the steward had accidentally opened the wrong door using a master key. In one case, passengers in the connecting cabin claimed they'd been told their door led to a closet and opened it to find someone else's cabin. The lock on your side doesn't stop the master key from the other side. If your cabin has a connecting door and you're not using it, don't just lock it. Physically block it. Use your suitcase. Wedge a door stopper underneath it. Or go to guest services and say, "I have a connecting door in my cabin and I'd like to request that it be secured from both sides for the duration of the cruise." Some lines will send security to physically bolt it. Some won't. But asking creates a paper trail. Is this common? No, most connecting doors never get opened by mistake. But I've seen it happen. And when it does, it's a serious violation of your space. Here's one about charges that show up after you've already left the ship. Cruise lines have a 24 to 48-hour window after you disembark to add finalized charges to your account. This includes minibar audits, damage assessments, and spa or specialty restaurant charges that were pending. By the time these charges hit your credit card, you're home. And disputing them requires calling the cruise line, explaining the situation to someone who wasn't there, and hoping they believe you. You check your cruise account on the last night. It's clean. You disembark the next morning feeling great. 2 days later, you get a credit card alert. $180 charge from the cruise line. You call. They say it's for cabin damage. You never saw a damage report. You never signed anything, but the charge is there. Cabin damage assessments happen after you leave. If the steward finds something during final turnover, it gets logged and charged to your account automatically. You don't get notified in real time. You don't get to dispute it face to face. By the time you see it, the cabin has been reoccupied, and there's no way to verify what happened. On the last night of your cruise, go to guest services or check your account in the app one final time. Screenshot your final bill. Then say to the agent, "I'd like to confirm that my account is finalized and that no additional charges will be posted after disembarkation." Get verbal confirmation. If a charge appears later that wasn't on that final bill, you have grounds to dispute it as unauthorized. I had a passenger call the cruise line 3 weeks after her cruise ended. She'd been charged $95 for a bathrobe that was supposedly missing from her cabin. She swore she never touched the robe. We investigated. Turned out the robe had been misinventoried from a previous sailing, but she'd already paid the charge because her credit card auto-processed it. We refunded her, but it took 4 weeks. And listen, if this kind of behind-the-scenes breakdown is valuable to you, subscribe. I worked guest services for 14 years. I've got a lot more of this. Last one. And this is the one that can follow you from cruise to cruise if you don't handle it right. If you request multiple cabin changes during a single cruise, your passenger profile gets flagged in the system. Not blacklisted from cruising, but flagged as a high-maintenance guest. And that code follows you to your next booking. It affects your cabin assignment, your upgrade eligibility, and how guest services handles your requests. You request a cabin change on day 1 because it's too loud. They move you. On day 3, you request another change because the new cabin is too warm. They move you again. You think you're being reasonable. You paid for a vacation, you want it to be comfortable. But what you don't know is that every request is being logged, and it's building a profile. I didn't fully understand this until I'd been in guest services for about 5 years. We had access to passenger profiles that showed previous cruise behavior. If someone had requested multiple cabin changes on a prior sailing, it showed up in the notes. And when they booked again, the system would assign them to a stable cabin, one that historically had fewer complaints. Sounds good, right? Except it also meant they were far less likely to get an upgrade, even if they were a loyalty member. The system coded them as someone who complains, so the algorithm deprioritized them. If you genuinely need a cabin change, unsafe noise level, broken AC that can't be fixed, serious sanitation issue, go to guest services within the first 24 hours and say, "I need to request a one-time cabin relocation due to specific issue. I've documented the problem and I'd like this noted as a legitimate operational issue, not a preference." The phrase "one-time and operational issue" frames it as a ship problem, not a passenger complaint. That changes how it gets coded. I had a passenger who'd requested 3 cabin changes over 2 consecutive cruises. When she booked her 3rd cruise, the system auto-assigned her to an inside cabin on Deck 2, one of the most stable, quiet cabins on the ship. She'd requested a balcony upgrade. Denied. When I looked at her profile, the note said multiple relocation requests, assigned to low complaint inventory. She had no idea her previous requests had flagged her. Is this fair? Probably not. Should passengers be penalized for requesting reasonable accommodations? No. But I'm telling you how the system works. If you make multiple cabin change requests, especially on the same cruise, it affects your future bookings. Be strategic. If you have a serious cabin issue, request the change once. Document the problem thoroughly and frame it as an operational failure, not a personal preference. 9 secrets. And here's the thread. Your cabin isn't just a room. It's part of a monitored, tracked, revenue-optimized system. There are databases logging damage, sensors charging you for items you didn't consume, priority codes determining how fast your maintenance request gets handled, algorithms deciding whether you're a complainer or a preferred guest. None of this is advertised. Most crew members don't even know the full scope of it. But once you understand that these systems exist, you stop being reactive and you start being strategic. Photograph everything before you touch it. Request amenities in the first hour. Tip your steward early. Use the words sanitation concern if you need same-day maintenance. Block your connecting door. Screenshot your final bill. And if you need a cabin change, make it count because the system is watching. You don't have to do all 9. Pick the 2 or 3 that matter most for your next cruise. Start there. In guest services, I saw 2 types of passengers. The ones who assumed the cruise line had their back and got blindsided when something went wrong. And the ones who understood that this is a business, a really well-run business, and that knowing the system meant they could work within it. The second group had better cruises. Not because they were lucky, because they knew what to ask for and how to ask. So next cruise, embarkation day, before you unpack, walk your cabin with your phone out and document everything. Find your steward in the first 30 minutes. Request what you need using the exact language I gave you. And if something breaks, don't wait. Call guest services, use the priority code words, and get it handled. Remember that woman I told you about at the beginning? The one who got charged for carpet damage? That was already in the database before she even boarded? She had no proof, no video, no photos. She paid $180 for something she didn't do. That doesn't have to be you. You've got the playbook now. If this keeps even 1 bogus damage charge off your bill or gets your maintenance issue fixed on day 1 instead of day 5, I did my job. I'm David. I worked the desk. I saw the systems. And now, you know them too. Next up, the one embarkation day mistake that gets more seniors delayed at the terminal than anything else, and the paperwork nobody tells you to bring.